Thank you for joining us today in this Lunch or Learn. My name is Salvatore LaRosa. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer for the Children's Tumor Foundation, and I'm together with my colleague Barb Gallagher. She is corporate relations working on the development team, and we have three amazing patients that we'll introduce later. So I will go ahead and share my screen. I have a few slides that I want to share with you that will allow us to frame the discussion a little bit, presenting CTF, the Children's Tumor Foundation, what we do, and explaining about the disease. So very briefly, we are a nonprofit foundation started in the late 70s. So we celebrated 40 years of operations about 4 years ago. And our mission has always been to drive research, expand knowledge, and advance care for the NF community. We are, as a funder, the largest non-governmental funder of NF research. Of course, the funding agency that are from government, they have higher capacity, but we are really supporting and working as a unison with the other organization and the federal funders to advance research for neurofibromatosis. So our first and foremost goal is to drive research, supporting the researchers. So we actively have grants, and I will go a little bit more into the mechanism of those grants that will help to share data, but also create new treatments and fund new treatments for the patients and bring it to them faster. We're trying to expand knowledge about NF in general. 10 years ago, when I joined the foundation, I never heard about NF, to be honest. In my previous career as working for CROs, organizations, and a biotech as a chemist, that's what my background is. But then I learned about, and we are trying to expand and educate, providing free resources to researchers, but also clinicians, healthcare workers, teachers, administrators, and all of the communities about NF. And now I can proudly say that the disease is a lot more known, and there is a lot more awareness about it. And we are always striving to advance care by increasing access to medical resources for patients, and through support and expansion of the clinic network with a national network, but also globally. Now we are present in Europe, and we're trying to also expand our support for care in other regions like China and South America. Our vision is really to eradicate neurofibromatosis as a disease as we know it today. And we hope we'll get it there. What is neurofibromatosis, or in short NF, is a genetic disorder that causes tumors to grow on nerve termination. So there are three types, NF1, NF2, and schwannomatosis. This year, there are some efforts in redesigning and redrawing the diagnostic criteria and also the name for NF2 and schwannomatosis. But in general, this affects all populations, genders, ethnicity equally, and has an incidence of 1 in 3,000 births. Of course, the manifestation between NF1 and NF2 is schwannomatosis, but also the epidemiology is different. So NF1 is definitely the most common disease. NF2 is 1 in 25,000 patients and people, and schwannomatosis is 1 in 40 or even 70,000 births. So it's almost a very rare, ultra rare disorder. So what happened is that 95% of our patients will develop tumors during their lifetime, and this can be of different types. We have, cutaneous benign tumors, but also plexiform tumors, very large in some extent, and some of them, like 10%, have they may turn into malignant tumors. Our patients also have a large likelihood of develop cancer 2 times at least than the general population does. So that's where an opportunity of running research in NF will help cancer research, and vice versa. Cancer research has helped NF, especially if you think about the first drug that has been approved for this condition last year. That was a product, a MEK inhibitor developed for cancer treatments. And it's a very complex disease because affects everyone differently. So it can cause tumors throughout the body on nerves terminations, but also have may lead to blindness, deafness, bone abnormalities, disfigurements, learning disabilities, disabling pain, and cancer. What is striking as a single number that I can provide you is that there is no one single predominant pathogenic variants for the disease, but so far we've been cataloging about 4,000 different mutations or pathogenic variants for this disease. And that means that every patient is affected in a different way. So it's very, very complex to stratify and have genotype-phenotype correlations. So what are we doing as CTF? We developed this graph in order to give an idea of everything we do, but we're really trying to connect what is still unconnected in our master plan to bring medicine to the patients. And everything starts and ends with patients. And that's why also we have 3 patients today. But you can see here on the side, we're trying to connect the community through clinic network and conference. We're trying to catalyze new discoveries, funding research through the discovery funds, and maybe also some collaborative models like the Synodos. We're trying to bridge between, let's say, the funding that we do in academia to the commercial entities that are companies like you, but also companies that develop pharma and biotech companies that develop treatments. And we have a couple of projects here that can really enable the R&D platform to transition, including the registry, including the target scan, data hub, preclinical initiatives, and clinical endpoints that we are developing. So we are working with commercial entities to enable those discoveries to be taken into a real pipeline for development. And then we're also talking to regulators. So we have active dialogues with the FDA and educate them about NF. And you can see here at the center is our patient engagement activities. We're always trying to involve patients from conference and getting together and understanding how the clinic works, to review research, to talk to people and commercial entities outside of, let's say, the direct research space, like today, for instance. And we're always trying to help them and put them in front of the regulators so that they're aware of the disease. So everything really starts and ends there. So they are really the strategic partner for us to bring this mission forward. And when I said, things that we're doing, we're funding the best and brightest. So we are like other foundations. We are funding, basic translational and clinical research and contract as well with companies. We have a rigorous peer review system that guarantees quality, but we also need to increase the quantity of research that we fund. Every year, we award about $3 to $4 million in grants, and the fund that we've been used to is growing every year. So now there is a need for us to speed up and support more research. So we have that capacity. At the same time, we want to expand our research portfolio to reach out to other scientific communities, because you may think NF is not as big as a research community as cancer, for instance, but there are a lot of synergies and connections that will allow us to branch out in those communities and bring some of those researchers into the NF space. The active collaborative synodous model that I was talking about when we fund, those are ad hoc consortia of researchers that tackle big challenges, for instance, problems that cannot be solved by one single lab. And we funded already a few of them, like in the NF2 space, we're trying to identify a screening pipeline that will allow good translatability of drug candidates from bench to bedside. This was because, in the past, in early 2000 and 2010s, we saw that there was a lot of drugs that came out good from, cell lines and animal models, but they were failing in the clinic space. So we had to, gather all of those systems, model systems, to understand what is a real good filter model. For an F1, we needed new animal models or a model system that will help translate drug into the clinic. For the same reason, this time, this helps to fund two different pig models that now have NF, and that kind of bridge between the mice and the human studies. In low-grade glioma, there was not enough tissue to be characterized, so we launched a collaborative effort to collect enough low-grade glioma samples to characterize them and understand the genetic underpinning of those tumors. And now we have about 2 studies of 50 samples each that we're going to combine into one single 100, which is the largest ever collection of gliomas that will help understanding what is the genetic underpinning. And for schwannomatosis also, we didn't really have a large cohort of tumors. It's an ultra rare disease. There are not many tumors. Only working together, we could really gather enough cohort of tumors and evaluate also what if there is a genomic pain signature that it could be acted upon, as this condition is really characterized by extreme chronic pain. We also do build communities. So we do have a conference that is organized by CTF since the late 90s, and now it's really the world venue for NF research advancements with 750 attendees. We organized the forum, and this year is going to call the summit, even larger, where we hope to gather all of the NF stakeholders, patients, researchers, clinicians, caregivers, volunteers, industry, educators, together to learn on different tracks and whatever they resonates with them. And we also have fun event, which is the NF Hackathon. Now that we have data available, we're reaching out to other scientific communities in the medical space. So the last things that I want to point is the NF Registry for patients and researchers. It started in 2012, and today it counts about 10,000 patients, and it has multiple purposes. First of all, we use it for information sharing for patients. So through connecting them to the right clinical trial, pushing information out about things that could be useful, but also, as an instrument for researchers to know, to know the latest research development, but also as a tool for scientists, where they can actually participate in ad hoc studies and surveys that we send through that registry. It's already being used for 59 recruitments, and now is available in 4 additional languages. But the challenge here is that only a fraction of our global patient population is on the registry. So we would like to expand this tool as much as possible to be more effective. And today we are coming to you with an opportunity, and the opportunity is that Charles River Laboratories is offering, as you know, a sabbatical to work with CTF. If you know, don't. But there are centrally focused on 3 opportunities that we laid out for you. And one is exactly, expanding research, helping us to double the number of grant submissions. Another one is to identify grant opportunities for us to apply for, to secure and support all of the amazing programs that we're doing. And that is really from federal aids to family funds, trying to identify those that are suitable for CTF, and also work with us to expand and diversify the registry. the registry is a key element that will help recruitment, but also increase the number of participants so that we can, leverage this even more and reach out to more and more patients. So today, how we are going to work, and it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists, Brianna, Cole, and Bill. They are representative of many different activities that are involved with CTF. Brianna is on the CTF junior board. Cole and Bill are CTF volunteer, but they're all patient advocate. And as I showed you in that other slide, they're working with us to be ambassadors of NF for themselves and for the community. So without further ado, I would like to first of all stop sharing and introduce them with our discussion. So we'll go through, trying to have some personal view on, how is your life and what you can tell us about NF1, NF2 schwannomatosis through your personal experience. Because I can tell you about, all of the different medical things and things we're doing, but it's better to listen from all of you. So I will start with you, Brianna, and help us understand, some of the challenges you have battled with. Thank you.
Right. Hello. So I'm Brianna, and I have NF type 1. I was born with this disorder, and I'm a spontaneous mutation, so I'm the only one in my family to have it. I joke around and say I'm lucky, I guess. But anyway, so my tumors mainly encompass my entire left side with the exception of my left leg. You can't see it anywhere besides my left arm, and I can show you. So as you can see, mine is a large plexiform, but it starts right here at my neck. And even with me, I've actually battled cancer 3 times. So I've had malignant peripheral nerve sheath tumors 3 times. They've all been removed. And my tumors kind of grow very fast. As soon as I stop any form of clinical study, they grow back bigger than what they were prior to the medication. So I think that's why it's so important to know how each individual is going to be impacted, because these clinical studies and MEK inhibitors do work, especially if you have, in my case, a large plexiform. And I'm already seeing a difference even in my quality of life, whereas before my skin was literally ripping apart because my tumors were just continuously growing. And NF1, as mentioned, it causes bone deformities. So my entire spine is made out of metal titanium rods. I've had 3 spinal fusions and a bunch of tumor resections as well.
Thank you, Brianna. And let's go with Cole. Cole, how are you, first of all? And, help us understand how NF2 impacted you, or, how you cope with it.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Cole Harrell, and I have NF2. I guess I'll start off with, I was diagnosed when I was 15 years old. I was born with this, but I did not have any presentations until I was 15. And this first happened with hearing loss. And this is pretty common with a lot of NF2ers, obviously not everyone, but I had drastic hearing loss in one of my ears. So that led me to going to a doctor and getting the hearing test, and they're like, yeah, it was very, very bad at that time. And so, they dig in further. They're like, well, what's causing the hearing loss? So, you get the scans done, MRIs, and that was my first of very, very many appointments with a neurologist. And that's when they found the bilateral acoustic neuromas, so tumors in both sides of the head. And that's also a very common presentation. I also have tumors throughout my body, a couple of dozen legs, arms, a couple in my spine as well. That at 15, that first tumor was very, very large. It was about the size of a golf ball, and it was pressing pretty drastically on my brainstem. So I had surgery about a month later. Going into that surgery, I knew that they weren't going to be able to save my hearing in that ear. So at 15, I lost all the hearing in one ear, and at that point, my hearing was good in my other ear. So, in school, that was great with friends. Not a whole lot changed other than having that initial surgery. Then maybe about a year or two later, I started losing my hearing in my other ear. Things were getting a bit more difficult at that time. That was when I went on my first drug treatment of Avastin, and it actually did help. It helped preserve that hearing for about another year or two, but it continued getting worse. Progressed through a hearing aid, progressed through a cochlear implant, went through about as much as I could until finally, when I was about 20 years old, just for reference, I'm 28 now. So when I was 20 years old, I had to have surgeries on both sides. At that point, when they removed the tumor on the right side, they had to cut the nerve of my only good ear. So for about the past 8 years, I've been completely deaf, no residual hearing at all, and not really any tech, nothing that can restore my hearing. The only thing out there is an ABI, acoustic brainstem implant, that's a big surgery to have. And in my case, it does work for some. It's kind of hit or miss with how useful it is. In my case, with my medical history, it actually wouldn't work very well, so I've never gotten it. At this point, there's really nothing that can restore my hearing. I went through radiation, Avastin, chemotherapy for a couple years, multiple surgeries. That's kind of been my treatment options that I've had. I rely mainly on ASL to communicate with my family. I have an amazing wife, Helen, and an amazing 2-year-old daughter, Harper. We all use ASL in our lives. I was very fortunate to be able to learn it through college, and it's just a great aspect of how we communicate. It's one of the most difficult challenges with that and becoming deaf later in life is that, one, I was fortunate to be able to learn it in college, but a lot of people don't have that ability. The older you get, most people know that it's harder and harder to learn new languages. You also don't have the resources for it. My family, they've tried, but it's been hard, really, outside of my immediate family. With my wife and daughter, really no one else knows sign language. It's just really hard to have those resources and get the options to learn that with the extended family. So that's been a bit difficult, and I know that's a challenge for a lot of people with NF2 with hearing loss. I have no functioning balance nerves either. That was taken with my hearing nerve. A little bit of limited facial paralysis on one side. You'll notice that with a lot of people with NF2 have the droopy face on one side or even both sides. And then also eyes, not being able to use your eyelids very well, so you get droopy eyelids. Fortunately, that's been very minor for me, so that's kind of my medical background. And I'll go ahead and pass it on to Bill before we get into other questions.
Yeah, thank you, Cole. Thank you so much. Bill, schwannomatosis is always, a very distinct form of an F. Let us understand how you cope with it and what is your personal experience with it.
Well, Salva, first I'd like to thank Charles River for hosting this event. It's a company and researchers like those that work at Charles Rivers who are going to be at the forefront of helping to have earlier diagnosis, better treatments, and ultimately a better quality of life for all of us with all three forms of NF. So I'm the senior citizen here. My name is Bill Riter. I'm a 67-year-old patient with schwannomatosis, and I'm the father of a patient with schwannomatosis. So with schwannomatosis, the tumors grow on our nerves, and the hallmark of our part of the disease is extreme pain. Many times it's very difficult to find a schwannomatosis patient. I had my first tumor taken off at the age of 22 when I was in college, and subsequently at the age of 26, I had my second tumor removed during another operation. It was just pressing on my hip. It was a little strange tumor. If I bumped it, would send shooting pains down my leg. And the doctor said, or the pathologist said, oh, it's a benign tumor. That's good news. And that was the end of that. So from about 1979 until 2003, I had literally constant pain my entire life. My doctor didn't understand what he was seeing. He would, give so many different kinds of treatments, as I'm sure many of you had before you were diagnosed. They give you TENS units, they give you lidocaine patches, they give you various type of exercises and therapies. And then finally in 2003, I knew that something was dramatically wrong. And at that point, I changed doctors. Within about 4 months, I was on vacation on a jet ski and I got paralyzed from the neck down. About 5 minutes later, the sensation came back, and the next morning I was at my doctor's office and she ordered the first MRI. And it showed of the neck, and it showed tumors throughout every disc. Then it was a full spinal MRI, which showed tumors throughout the spine, and then a full body. And I basically was declared disabled at 48. I had to go to Mass General, to a major clinic, to get my confirmation. I carried the MRI films with me, along with a slide of that 1979 tumor from 25 years earlier that I was able to find, and Mass General was able to confirm my my diagnosis. I know, Cole, Brianna, many of us in our situation, in our home communities, if we don't have a major NF treatment, a clinic rather, treatments can be a challenge. And so I went home to Ohio, which was known as the opioid jungle. And for the next 14 years, I was treated with high dose opioids, which did very little for the pain. Maybe I went from a level 8 or 9 pain every day down to a level 5. For most of that decade, I was treated with high dose fentanyl patches, which is truly meant more for end of life with cancer than it is for ongoing treatment. Thankfully, the state of Ohio red flagged my doctors in 2018. I was able, they were told to get me off the opioids. A dear friend who is now chairman emeritus of the Tumor Foundation, who was chairman at the time, was able to get me a quick appointment to the specialty NF clinic at Johns Hopkins. And I was put on a regimen of a very simple drug, high dose gabapentin. I'm on about 2,700 milligrams a day, and it virtually takes my pain away. I'm doing well. I'm living a fairly good quality of life. One of the reasons, well, a number of the reasons I want to participate is to help the younger people that are suffering from these diseases and future generations to find better answers. But also those of us that are on these various drugs and treatments, as we max out, we need the next drug treatments to be coming along. And that's where we look at researchers like you. I've participated in the hackathon. I've participated in some other things. And all of us are here really just advocates, not only for ourselves, but for future generations. It's really selfless, and we appreciate people like Salvo that are there at the forefront. That are there at the forefront every day. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of of where we've been and where we're going and where we'd like to be. So thank you again, Charles River, and thank you, Salvo and Barbara, for asking me to participate today.
Yeah, thank you. And let's go a little bit now into a little bit deeper into our discussion. We said, there are clear opportunities for Charles River to help CTF, right? And I presented 3 slides. One is we need to find more research, and research is what CTF is all about, right? So we want to really find treatments and explore that biology, but also explore those drugs that are on the market that we can bring to patients. So let's go with Brianna again. And I think, NF1. Can you share what has been your treatment journey? So which medication you're on, and how that, what medication have helped you most,
Right.
solving what problem, right?
So I started doing clinical studies when I was a junior in high school. I am now 24 years old. So I started with cabozantinib, and it was shrinking my tumors. It was great. but it was causing my kidneys to fail. So I was out of the clinical study. I could not continue. Then I decided to take a break. I had to have a few surgeries to remove some of the tumors because, like what was just mentioned, we wait for the next drug to come out. As soon as you stop taking it, your tumors grow so fast. Even within 2 weeks' time, my arm was, or even the other tumors were bigger than before. Then I started with binimetinib about 2 years ago. My time on that study ended, so we quickly moved me to selumetinib. So I'm on the MEK inhibitor. I have been on it for 3 months now. I just had my third month scan, and my tumors have shrunk over a centimeter, which is big for me and for the tumors that I have, because we're already seeing a significant difference. And actually, February 28th, because this medicine has been working so well, I will be having one of the tumors that has potential for malignancy that they could not remove before to be able to get removed because the tumors around it have shrunk. So I think that's super important. And going off about the importance of using medications to help other forms of cancer, I also have a nodule on my thyroid from having so many MRIs and PET scans from having cancer previously. But because of the other medication I have been on, that tumor has also shrunk. And it's not a neurofibroma. They don't know what it is. It's too small to biopsy, but they know that ever since I've started the MEK inhibitor, that tumor or nodule has also shrunk. So I think that's why it's so important to continue this research and advancement and get other form of drugs for other patients as well.
Yeah. Awesome, Brianna. That's awesome news. Thank you for sharing. Cole, are you on some medications now? I mean, have you been, and how is that impacting your life?
That's a good question. I'm actually not on any medications right now, and I've been fortunate enough to be stable for a while, so I haven't actually been on any medication in the past 8 years. I think I'm 28, so I'm very lucky with that. But I will say that with the past treatments, the only actual drug treatment I have actually had was Avastin, which is obviously used very often for NF2. And I would say it did work. I started it probably 13, 14 years ago, so I feel like it was probably in the earlier stages of it. It was back when it was still in trial stages, very early on. And the doctors at that time were, there was really no consensus on, how long should you be on it, what dosage is recommended, kind of that stuff. There was some, we think this will work. This is kind of what they standardly use, but in your case, we're not sure. Here, let's try this out, right? So I was 15. That's when I started losing my hearing. So, there were signs that Avastin could at least help slow tumor growth or help preserve some of that hearing, and it did. It worked in my case. I was 15. When I started losing that hearing in my right ear, it worked till I want to say I did 6 months on, then had to stop, and then did another probably year or so altogether. I was on it for about 1.5 to 2 years. At one point, they started growing a little bit, and I started losing more hearing. So they're like, all right, we don't think the drug is quite being as effective. And I was on it for a very, very long time at that point. So they're like, let's take a break from it. And I think Brianna mentioned this about how a lot of times when you stop those drugs, you get those rebound effects where those tumors just kind of start going crazy. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happened was when I stopped that tumor in that right ear just kind of shot up a little bit. So I needed surgery again. But at the time, I was in high school, 15 to 18-year-old in high school from like sophomore to senior year. That was an important part of my life. So I'm happy that that drug worked during that time. Helped preserve enough hearing that I could communicate with friends and everything. So I'd say that just gets to show how important this is in those early stages. It was like, well, how much should we give you? And so much has changed too. I know today the regimens for that has been a lot more fleshed out, like 3 months on, 3 months off, or what dosages. It's really come a long way, and it's been very, very helpful. But obviously, we do need to do a lot more research. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to point out to the audience that Brianna has been using the drug selumetinib is a drug that was approved last year, or can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but anyway, last year. It's a first drug approved ever for NF1. It's a drug that has showed efficacy across a large population of NF1 patients, 71% that at least have a 20% shrinkage on their tumors, and more. Some patients have also observed even 50% shrinkage. But the problem there is that as soon as you stop, as Brianna said, the tumor starts to grow. So these are medications that are hopefully our patient needs to stay for a lifetime. So we're not done. We need to find something that either works even better or solve the question, right? So that's why we need more help. And in case of COL for NF2, we don't have a medication approved, so there is no drugs. It's an orphan designations, but there are drugs like bevacizumab or Avastin, the same drug that have shown some promises. And now we have other drugs that are showing some promises, but we need more and more. And Bill, in your case, you said gabapentin is a tumor, is a pain suppressor. So anything else you've been on? And I want to ask you, if you had one drug that would work, what would be that manifestations that you want to be alleviated for schwannomatosis?
Well, Salvo, let me start by saying, because I didn't want to leave the impression that because I've had some relief for a couple of years with gabapentin that it works for everybody. Every one of us are different in how drugs, treatments, surgeries, etc., are administered and are successful. So I am very lucky to have had a couple good years, and I just try to find joy in every day because I don't know when I'm going to go back to the extremely severe pain. As Cole said, he has many dozens of tumors, and that's my case also. I have numbness in my hands, in my feet. What would I like? I'd like a magic wand that could make NF go away for all of us, but that's not the case. But everything that we do and every added new treatment, etc., takes us a step closer. And with schwannomatosis, we tend to be diagnosed later in life, so we have some other, more personal issues or different personal issues to live with, as in, did we pass it on to our children? Because many of us get to childbearing age, and it's after that we find out. And I, in fact, did pass it on to at least one of my children. I just heard from another schwannomatosis patient that contacted me because she knew that I had, and she just had 2 of her children diagnosed, and it's a lot of guilt, and you just have to tell them, don't be guilty. You didn't know. We had our children. We love our children, and we're here to, to help make that better. There's also the issues of, having spouses that may have been in a marriage for 20, 25 years, in my case, that didn't sign up for this, and they may not be as willing to be part of the NF community, and that was my case. So there's lots of different things that we face with these 3 diseases. I hope that answered some of it, Salvo. I mean, today's a good day.
Guys, this is amazing. I'm always, when I interact with, patients, I always learn something. And this is, we never really have a full picture. And that's why it's so important that your testimonials, your, commitment to understanding this disease is it's vital to understand, the implications. So thank you for sharing all of this. So research is important. We'll learn that. But let's move now into something else. And I would like to talk about the NF registry and the way that we can communicate and help the community. So the registry, as I said before, is a tool for patients to register and have their contact information, some basic information about their condition, what kind of tumors, so that we can match them with the right clinical trials, or if they want, or we can send the information and reach out. You probably are registered on our registry, I hope. And why do you think, how active are you in learning about new treatments? So how your daily life is let's say, are you just seeking for informations every day, or you're okay with the information that you receive? Would you like to have more, or are you always in constant search for news about NF, and how the registry has served you in that purpose? If you can share some of that.
Yeah,
Brianna.
I could go. So my mom, she does not have NF, but she loves the registry. She is a nurse, so up-to-date information on any form of treatment is very important to her, because we do see a few patients in my community who also have NF, and unfortunately, near me, they don't really know about NF, and it's very similar. Just give me any kind of narcotic I can for pain, and I never take them because it doesn't work for me. So I have the mentality of, why take it if it doesn't work? But also, as being a former ambassador, I get a lot of messages, and ambassador for the Children's Tumor Foundation, I should say, but I get a lot of messages asking about their NF, what treatments are available, how can I help them get better? And I always refer them to the registry, because also I don't want my story to scare them, because it might be scary hearing, oh wow, she's had this deadly form of cancer 3 times. How is she still alive? Am I going to get that? But is it going to kill me? And it's always hard for me to have that conversation with them, because I don't want them to get scared, and I don't want them to also feel bad for me. So I think this registry is so important, because it also allows them to discover what doctors are near them that can actually help them find new up-to-date information, and not just be given a narcotic because they're in pain and the doctor doesn't know what it is. So it's so important for people to have more access, and that's why we need more availability with these registries, so people all over the world can have treatment. Because like we talk about, in everybody deserves an equal education, everybody deserves the opportunity for treatment to get better.
Thank you. Cole, what is your view? And do you use the registry, or do you keep, let's say, abreast with the latest NF news or research in the NF2?
Yeah, sure. So I am on the registry. I've signed up for that. Obviously, with trying to be a part of like CTF, NF outreach. I'm also part of the NF accelerators program and stuff like that. So I get a lot of information from that as well about, we have these new treatments coming up. Let's get this out there to other patients. Try and share on social media, get all this outreach. So I have a lot of different areas that I also see that information for. Obviously, all the Zoom calls that we have, I believe they're almost doing it monthly at this point, about new drugs, new trials. So when it comes to the registry, I'll be honest, I do look at it from time to time, but I'm being bombarded, and this is a great thing with NF and CTF. I have emails all the time about new trials, about here, jump on this Zoom call, let's see, let us tell you what's going on. Have all the experts talking to you. It's a great thing. And I know from when I've actually talked to other NF patients, whether NF2, NF1, whenever at the NF symposium or wherever it may be, a lot of times for other people who aren't involved in the outreach, like the accelerator program and all that, they said, that registry, seeing all those resources, seeing, they have no idea what to do. Like Brianna said, it can be a big scary time. Having all those resources there to say, okay, here's what you have, here's how you can deal with it, here's different treatment options, maybe here's contacts you can get in touch with to figure out what you need to do. I know from personal experience that they've told me that their registry has been amazing in helping them, guide them through really when they first find out, and even when they've had NF for 10 years or even longer on their journey, the NF registry has also been there to give them the resources they need.
Yeah. Bill, what do you think about the registry? How do you feel yourself? Do you think the information you get are enough, or would you like to, receive more or less?
Well,
How involved are you? I know you are.
I receive it almost every day because I'm in a lot of committees and just try to be involved. But the NF registry is fantastic, and having been around the NF community for a long time, I was actually one of the original people to register on day one. So I think it's wonderful. And as Cole said, those that are entering the journey, The registry is so helpful to them to help guide them, give them information. And also, Brianna, I have to say, your year as an ambassador, you were spectacular. So thank you for representing all of us so well.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you.
I still have that picture of you in that beautiful dress at the gala when you stepped up and took your year, started your year. So thank you for all you do. Sorry, Charles River, we're advertising.
No, and this is great because one of the opportunity with the sabbatical is to trying to expand our NF registry so that we can be more effective in conveying all of this information we are kind of generating and learning from the community back to the patients. And the registry is really the most effective tool because we can segment that information to those patients that really needs it. So because we have information about patients, so help us, join us in this effort to expand. We've been investing in translating in 4 different languages. So now the registry is not only in English, but also in French, Portuguese, Italian, and I'm forgetting the 4th, and Spanish, 4th language. So yes, and we hope we'll be able to reach globally more patients than we do today and we serve today. So this is a great opportunity for any of you that is interested to help with that. Anything else you guys wants to share? I mean, I think it's been phenomenal, the discussion we had. And I don't know, Barb, I don't know if you have any other questions, or Christina, if you want to ask any questions to our panelists. We still have 10 minutes. We can use the time. And also, I have an extra slide I want to share at the end about CTF events that are coming up this year.
I mean, I could just throw in, I know you've all sort of hinted at, but your involvement with CTF and that impact, and maybe talking about that, whether it's the advocacy or awareness or something that you feel has had the greatest impact and is helping you move the needle in terms of, ending NF and raising awareness. Would love to maybe, and where you're at right now and how you feel it's gotten to where you're at now personally. Want to start, Brianna?
Yes, sure. So for me, it's been amazing having CTF, especially being the only one in my family who has NF. So it's allowed me to connect with people who feel similar as I do, although we have different stories. It's nice to know that you're not alone. And it's also helped me be a big leader, because I remember I've been involved with CTF since I was 8 years old. And again, I'm now 24. So they've really seen me develop, and they are my family. And I truly appreciate everybody involved in CTF and the patient advocates. And because of working so closely with the Children's Tumor Foundation, I'm actually finishing my last term at NYU online for school counseling, because I want to bridge the gap between education and chronic illness. Because in COVID, we saw how we can utilize online learning, which I wish was something I could do when I was in the hospital for X amount of time, but they don't allow that for chronic illnesses. It's only for COVID purposes. So now I'm trying to work with legislation to reenact a law called Brianna's Law that allows people with chronic illness and mental illness to Zoom into their classes or record their classes, so they don't get counted as absences and they can still learn equally.
Amazing. Thank you. And Cole?
Yeah, so I actually have a couple of things that have been really impactful in my life. First thing I want to say is Cupid Sunday Run, which is probably going on right now in some states. I believe some have already done it, but they try and stagger it across different weekends so they're not all on the same. It's always around Valentine's Day. And for any of you who haven't heard about it, you do about a mile-ish run in your underwear around Valentine's Day every year to raise money for NF. It's an absolutely fantastic time. You don't have to wear your underwear. You can wear a costume, pajamas, whatever you want. Obviously, it can be an interesting experience in below zero weather and snow up in the northern states. But it's a great time, raises a lot of money for NF. With my family growing the past couple of years, I haven't been able to be involved with it as much as I have wanted to, but I definitely did it for 2 or 3 years. And it's an absolutely fantastic experience. So if you want to do it, sign up for it if you can get to it this year. If not, look out for it next year. I also did a lot of personal fundraisers as well. Just little like raffle prizes and things like that. And then most importantly was the NF Hackathon. I think we've already talked about that. I believe that was last year or maybe the year before that. I'm not sure. The years kind of growing together these days, but that was an absolutely amazing experience where you can just see how important it is to have patient advocates. And during that, we had patients just like us today discussing this, where there were patients telling multiple medical experts, data experts, people who are software engineers saying, you know, here's problems we're constantly facing every day. What can you do to help us out? Whether it's the software for helping manage our care or connecting us to doctors. Like Brianna said, a lot of us don't have enough specialists close by. There's nowhere even in my state really. I had to go. I'm in South Carolina. I had to travel to North Carolina and Boston to see my NF specialist. So it's an amazing thing, really, to have those resources to say, okay, here's where you can go to get NF care. Here's maybe other people with NF to connect you to. Here's how you can manage your care. There was also machine learning algorithms to help better analyze data from drug trials, I believe. All that stuff went over my head, but it was absolutely amazing.
Thanks, Cole. And I guess,
Wow,
Bill,
Cole.
we'll wrap it up with you. Although you shared a lot already, but
that was amazing, Cole. So as Cole said, the hackathon, I participated in that the last couple of years. I've spoken at conferences representing schwannomatosis only because there are so few of us, they keep having me back. We had an international conference that we spoke to. Just participating over the years in CTF, I had a little bit of a unique situation in that, as Brianna and Cole talked about, we have so many things that can affect us that when we're first going through the diagnosis process, we literally have to see 7 or 8 different doctors to see exactly what we're going to lose, what's going to be affected, what's okay. And in the process, I was fortunate enough to get 2 common doctors, with the only other schwannomatosis patient that lived in Northeast Ohio at the time, Marcy Horvitz, and Marcy's husband was chairman of CTF. So I got involved in CTF through Rick and Marcy in the early days. So fabulous organization. I do want to say, if any of you potential researchers have any questions of any of us, feel free to reach out. If you just want to talk through things, ask some questions you didn't want to ask as a group, feel free to contact Salvo or Barbara. They'll get your information to us or ours to you, because we're here for you, because you're the ones that are helping our future and improving our quality of life.
Yes, thank you, Bill. I just quickly want to share one last slide before we move to closing. Is this one that, Barb, you can talk about. These are CTF 2022 events and program schedule that we have in the works, and also all of these have been confirmed, but there are still moving parts. But this is our best shot at progressing towards May Awareness Month for NF, May 17 World Awareness Day. So we're going to have a hybrid live stream concert event that will, more details to come. In June is our scientific conference. This year is going to be in Philadelphia. So if you want to learn about science and the recent advancements, join us, please. It's going to be also hybrid, so you can tune in if you want. In July, we have our summit, which is a revamped NF forum for families, caregivers, all stakeholders that I was mentioning, is going to be in Chicago, July 21-24. And then also in July, NF Camp that is in Utah. It's for young people, kids with NF. They share an entire week with other that share the same condition. Has been incredible for life bonding experiences that they grow up with and they bring for life. And then through May, from May through November, we have Shine a Light NF walks nationally in a lot of cities. I don't know many this year, Barb, but it's gonna, yes, you can definitely find one that is near you. And then October, we run our NF hackathon again. In November, our national gala in New York. And then year-round ongoing, we have classrooms that care, patient education, and NF endurance opportunities if you're running marathons or wants to participate in one of our events. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to get involved. And of course, last but not least, just want to reiterate the opportunities for a sabbatical, about expanding research, helping CTF expand research, help us in identifying new grants opportunities, and also help us expand and diversify the NF registry. These are the three things that you guys can apply for, and please refer to Christina, right? So if you have any questions, want more information about that. And I will stop sharing if I can. Let me see. And we're almost on top of the hour. So I don't know, Christina, do you want to close it, or I would love to, thanks to our patients, and thank you to all of you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to be here today and to tell you and share these stories with you.
Yes, thank you so much, Salvo, Brianna, Cole, and Bill. Thank you so much. It's been amazing to hear your stories. It's a really special thing when our employees are able to connect directly with patients that we work so hard for each and every day. It really puts into perspective, the work that we do and why we do what we do at Charles River. So we're very, very appreciative of all of your time. And again, as Salvo mentioned, 3 great opportunities to participate in a skills-based sabbatical, 4 weeks of paid time to support this great organization if you have more than 3 years of service at Charles River. So feel free to reach out with any questions. And again, thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.